Hello, my dear church boys, and welcome to St. Robert's Daygame Pickup Podcast episode number 53. I'm recording this podcast episode in Riga, Latvia. I came back to my home country a few weeks back after spending a month in Budapest, Hungary. I initially went to Budapest around 1.5, 2 months ago to coach a student. Now, maybe more like 2 months ago to coach a student and really get a feel from the city, kind of understand whether I like it and whether I want to give it a real shot and go there for a month. Because I think if you go to a city for a week, you don't really get to experience day game there. It's not a real day game trip, and you have to go to a city for at least a few weeks if you really want to get a good idea of dating there. So I went there, I coached a student, I loved the city, I fell in love with it instantly. It's really beautiful, amazing. It has tons of exactly the type of girls I like. So I decided to go back and spend a month there. I was hanging out there with friends. I was obviously day gaming. I was training jiu-jitsu as I do in every city I go to. I did around 80 sets in Budapest. I got 2 lays, one of them being a same-day lay, and I just had a great time there. And I wasn't the only one. My student got a few lays there as well and did pretty good in game. So in this podcast episode, I want to talk about my experience there, and I want to tell you everything you need to know if you want to go on a day game trip to Budapest. We'll talk about what types of girls are there, what's the quality, what's the traffic, so are there enough girls for you to actually do enough sets, which parts of the city you should stay, where exactly should you day game, what are the places you should check out, what the day game is like, what works there, what doesn't work, and in the end I will actually tell you, do I suggest going for a day game trip to Budapest? And obviously the answer is it depends, and it depends on what your game and experience is, but more on that later. I've traveled for day game, both to day game myself and to coach students, to very different places in Europe, to some places in USA like New York City and Chicago, in Toronto. So I've seen very, very different cities. I've experienced very different cities and day game in very different cities. And I must say Budapest will really stay in my heart, and I think I will go back there. As you know, I record this podcast once a week, maybe once in 2 weeks, depending on how busy I am with in-field coaching, how many students I have, and how many Skype coaching calls I have. And if I have any more information or tips or ideas or anything else upcoming that I want to share with my audience, I usually send it out to the mailing list, or I also talk about it in our Daygame Church Telegram group chat. So if you want to make sure you don't miss anything I'm sending out, or any information, or I don't know, the next trips that are coming up, or some interviews in a podcast where I'm having interesting guests and you can ask them questions. So if you want to make sure you don't miss out on those things, make sure you are subscribed to my mailing list, and you are in our Daygame Church group chat, where we have around 180 day gamers from all over the world. To sign up for the mailing list and join the group chat, simply go to my website, strobert.blog, that is strobert.blog, and fill out the form on the website. You will be added to the mailing list, and in the welcome email you will also get an invitation link to join our group chat. Also, if you are struggling with texting and with what to do on dates, and if you don't like wishy-washy long conversations and you like advice that really is very precise and down to the point, then head over to daygamecourses.com, where I have 4 free online courses. 2 of them on texting, they'll teach you exactly what to text girls you meet from Daygame, and 2 courses on dating, which will tell you exactly what to do on dates, step by step, from setting up the date to pulling home, dealing with escalation, dealing with maybe token last minute resistance and things like that. And if after listening to this podcast episode you decide that you want to go on a day game trip with me and learn day game with me, then simply send me an email to robert@strobert.blog, robert@strobert.blog, and tell me you want some coaching, and I'll send you more information how that works. Or simply go to my website, strobert.blog, and on top menu click on coaching, and you will read everything about how coaching works. And now, without any further intros, let's get down to our conversation about the lovely city of Budapest. First, let's talk about the girls. What types of girls are you most likely to meet in Budapest? And when it comes to me, it's my favorite type of girls, but not everyone agrees. Some guys like bigger girls with a lot of fake things. They go to some places in South America. Other guys like tall, skinny girls that really know how to doll themselves up and look very, very feminine and classy. They usually go to places like Russia or Ukraine. Well, me, I personally like short, petite girls with nice tits, preferably some ass. And that's exactly the type of girl you'll find in Budapest. They are fairly short, I would say. They're usually pretty skinny and have some really, really nice curves. And also a really nice thing, they don't like to wear too much clothes, so you can immediately see what you're getting when you're approaching. You kind of can see there are no 7 layers of clothing, and you kind of go on a date and you realize, oh shit, she doesn't really have the body that I thought she does. Well, in Budapest you mostly see what it is you will be getting. Many young girls know how to take care of themselves. They look very beautiful. They know how to dress okay, like dress pretty well. Of course, as in many places, as in any city you'd go to, you'll also see a lot of people that don't look that good, don't know how to take care of themselves, but that's typical in any city. But in Budapest, the people that look good and that know how to take care of themselves, they're really good looking. Those girls are pretty amazing, and I really, really like that style, that vibe. You'll get many young girls, 18ish, 20, maybe even younger. So be ready for that if that's your thing. Another thing to pay attention to is age of consent, and age of consent in Hungary is very low. But if you do plan on going on dates with younger girls, then just make sure you know the local rules, you know the local laws, and read upon this topic, because it's different in every country. Age of consent is different throughout all of the Europe. Somewhere it's 16, in some places it's 14. It's really different in each country, so make sure you read about it, just as well as buying girls alcohol. In most places it's not okay if they're less than 18 years old, so do your homework if you do go on a date with a girl that's younger than 18 years old. Okay, so that's about the type of girls that you meet there. So quality is good. If you wanna see some real stunners, some crazy quality, then go out in the evening. Go out when people are going out to party. Kind of open those girls on their way to parties. You'll see some crazy stunners. I remember walking around with a wing of mine. I think we were going to meet some guys, going for some drinks, and we saw incredible stunners, and there's like a girl walking down the street and everyone's looking over their shoulder at her and just like being, oh my god. And when I see everyone looking at the girl, I just like to kind of to do the ego thing and open in front of everyone, which is what I did, and had a great set. And number closed the girl in front of everyone, and several guys came up and just like, oh my god, that's amazing. No, what do you do? Can we see your like material? Do you coach, etc., etc.? So if you want to see some crazy stunners, go out at night. But in general, when we talk about traffic, about are there enough girls to day game to actually go out and do 10 sets in 2 hours in one session? Well, yes, there is enough traffic. You just have to know which parts of the city to day game at, and you can also have to understand, well, first of all, which streets to go to, and also what time of the day you should go out. When it comes to time of the day, it's pretty typical in most places in Europe. you would go out around the lunch break. So let's say from noon to 2 p.m. in busier places where people go for lunch. And the second time when you could go out is from 5 to 7 when people are done with work and then they are on their way from their work to their home gym or wherever else they're going. This is pretty much the same in most places in Europe. What you kind of have to adjust a little bit, because in some places they start work really early and they go on lunch break at 11, and then it's worth day gaming from 11 to 1. And in some places they finish work earlier, like 4 o'clock for example, so you would day game from 4 to 6. Really depends on the city, but in Budapest you could use the standard hours. You can go from noon to 2 and then go from 5 to 7. And well, where to day game? Main shopping street. And how do you find the main shopping street? In Budapest, it's the same as in any other city. You open up Google Maps and you look for stores like Zara, H&M, Reserved, and all the typical like the big stores, big clothing stores. And they're all on one street in Budapest. You'll see it on the map, so just open Google Maps and do that. And also look for Starbucks. So the main shopping street kind of goes from Starbucks to a square with several big stores, and then it takes a turn, and there are plenty of small and big shops there. So that's the biggest shopping street. It's really easy to find on Google Maps. So Starbucks to the big square next to H&M and Zara and all the big stores. And so that's one of the best places to day game in any city. The biggest shopping street is usually the place where you want to go. Especially if you're going maybe for tourists, and tourists usually go shopping, they go to those places. So if you're in Budapest, check out that street. Other places to check out. So not far from the Starbucks is the main street. It's the street where you'll see all the traffic, all the trams going, and there's a square called Deák, and Deák Square is the square where the Starbucks is. You will once you're in Budapest, you will know which square is called Deák. So the big main street that goes from Deák to Astoria. Astoria is a next metro station from Deák. So the street from Deák to Astoria is also an amazing street for day game, and I liked it on both sides of the street. Other guys liked it on just one side of the street. I liked it. You have to be aware that that part of the city, or that street, that stretch of the main street, is where you will also find many homeless people, many kind of people living on the streets and maybe getting drunk and not being too calibrated. So you have to be aware of that when opening, and make sure you look okay, make sure you're never mistaken with anyone who's begging, or so make sure your style is good, make sure you're a good looking dude and you've taken care of it's like how you're representing yourself. That's something to know and something to take into consideration when day gaming on the main street, on the strip from Deák to Astoria. If you do have to go indoors for whatever reason, maybe it's rainy, maybe it's too hot, I don't fucking know, then Westfield Mall is I think the only mall worth going to. At least that's the only mall I found worth going to. I didn't day game there, but I saw that there's a decent traffic inside, so that's definitely a place to explore if you wanna go indoors, because Budapest doesn't really have big malls in the city center like many other cities. For example, cities in Poland like Warsaw or Krakow, they have big shopping malls in the city center where you can day game that are really good for day game. Or Riga has several malls that are decent for day game, and many other cities do. Budapest does not have shopping malls on the main shopping street, so if you want to find one, that's Westfield Mall. A good thing about Budapest, and it's the same thing that's good about Prague, you can stick to the shopping street or to the main street and other streets. Oh yeah, by the way, you'll also find I think it was called Andrassy Street or something like that. It's a street with posh shops where usually you'll find Russian sugar babies and fairly posh girls. So you can also check out that street. But so the good thing about Budapest, and the same thing that's good about Prague, is you don't have to necessarily stick to the main day game areas, especially in cities where there are all day gamers love going and where there are many boot camps. So if you find yourself in a situation where you go to a city and you realize there's a boot camp with 10 guys running up and down the shopping street, and you understand it's not the best idea to be in the same spot with 10 other day gamers who are spam approaching, well, Budapest is a big city, so you can find many other hidden places that are good for day game. It's the same with Prague. If you are in Prague and you're day gaming on Naprikopy all the time, just as every other day gamer, then, well, you have a lot to learn. Because it's way easier to find to day game on streets where there aren't 10 other day gamers. So look for other hidden places. Check out bigger metro stations and figure out what are the districts where people are living, especially people that love to hang out in the city center. So there are probably some districts close to the city center where you'll find good traffic. For example, on one of my last days in the city, I went out to record some audio infields, and I went to the part of the city called Octagon. And it's just a crossing of several roads in octagon shape, and it's very well known, and many people live in that area, and it has really good traffic. But since it's not near main shopping street, it's not near main street, it's a 15-minute walk from there. There are no day gamers there, so you can go there and you can day game in places like that, places like Octagon and many other hidden places in Prague. If you have stayed in Prague too, then you probably know that you can just go out in Prague too and hang out next to the biggest metro stations, or like walk up and down some bigger streets, and you'll find enough sets without going to the main shopping street. So if you get tired of the shopping street and main street, find those hidden locations and go day game there. And one more thing worth mentioning about where and what to day game, where and at what time to day game, is it obviously changes when the school is on or off. So you have to kind of check out what time the students finish their studies and what time they're out. We saw way more traffic before school and university started, and traffic got worse when people had to go to unis and to high schools to study. So take that into consideration. But still, Budapest is a big enough city so that you'd have enough sets to enough traffic to do 10 sets in 2 hours, regardless of which day you go out, if you stick to the best times, noon to 2 and 5 to 7. And where should you stay in Budapest? Obviously, you should stay as close to the city center as possible, as close to the shopping street, to the Starbucks as possible. I would say, as always, don't stay more than 10, maybe 15-minute walk away from main shopping street. Why? Because if you open someone in the places where you'll be day gaming, you'll go for an Insta date, then you go to a nice bar with a chick and you pull her home. But the important thing is, you pull home without using public transport, without using cabs. It's way easier if there are bars next to your place and you can just walk for 5 minutes and be at your place. So stay as close to the main shopping street and to the Deák Square as possible, maximum 10 to 15 minutes away. Oh, and actually, one place I didn't mention is the Jewish district. Jewish district, or Jewish part of the town, I think it's called Gozdu in Hungarian, is a part of the city. It's like the party area. It's all where all the bars and clubs are, and you'll find a lot of traffic there. It's especially later at night when people are going out. So if that's your thing, if you want to go to bars and clubs, then yeah, explore that city. And I think I didn't do it, but I think it might be good for gather game if that's your thing. So check out the Jewish part of the city as well. And now that you know where to day game and what times of the day are the best for day gaming, and later we'll talk about what to expect from day game, what works, what doesn't. But now let's talk about having a life in Budapest. What are the things you should go do? What are the things you should check out? Because if you travel for day game and you're in a city for several weeks and all you see is the main shopping street and the main shops and the mall and the Starbucks, and that's all you see, then well, just stay in your city, and the shopping streets look pretty much the same in every city. H&M looks exactly the same in every city. Just don't spend the money going to different cities. So if you're in Budapest, what are the places to check out? And I'll give you a list so that you have a bit of a life there. Well, of course, just walk around the city center. City center is fucking beautiful. There's plenty of places to see, like parliament and cathedrals, and it's kind of okay. It's not the boring architecture. It looks good. It's just a lot of nice views. So explore the city center, and when you're finally bored with the city center, go explore Buda Hills. Budapest is like, it has two parts. There's Buda and Pest. The city side where you'll be staying, where you'll be day gaming, it's called Pest, and the other side of the river is called Buda. And all the beautiful hills you see far away, though, they are called Buda Hills. So just Google Buda Hills and find some trails you want to take, something you want to see, and go explore it. It's really beautiful. It's definitely worth it. And the beautiful thing about Budapest is it is cheap. So you can go to places like that and you can have a beer in the most touristic spot in those hills for like €2, or coffee for 1.5 or €2 there. It's amazing. And there is a nice chair lift that you can take up the Buda Hills. It takes around 10, maybe 15 minutes to get up the hills in that chairlift, and it costs a few euro for going up and down. I think it was around €5. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was even less. So check it out. There are some things I didn't get to see because I went there when COVID was pretty in a bad state, and they have this children's train or child train, whatever. It's a small train in Buda Hills that's people working there are all children, like people checking out your tickets and making sure you're having a good ride. They're all children. That sounds like a fun thing to check out, but unfortunately I couldn't experience it because it was closed because of COVID-19. So number one thing, apart from city center, Buda Hills, another thing, you'll see that there is an island not far from the city center, and it's called Margaret Island, or it's called a bit different in Hungarian, but whatever. So just open Google Maps and see in the river, just behind the parliament, there is a nice island. You can go and check it out. There's many places to hang out. You can just hang out in a park, you can have a drink or eat something in many bars there. I didn't explore all of the island, but I just sometimes grabbed my laptop, went there, sat on a bench, and were writing scripts for podcasts or doing some other laptop work. So it's a beautiful island to check out once, when you're bored from day gaming and walking all the time. Next on the list is Citadel. That monument you'll see when you are in the city center. You'll see across the river there is a monument on top of the hill. It's called Citadel. It's quite a hike to get up there. So if you don't want to hike, if you just want to get up there and chill, you can take a bolt to get up there. But you can also hike. It's like a 10-minute hike or maybe 15 minutes, and that's it. So it's pretty easy to get up there. And check it out both at day. It's an okay view during the daytime, but it's amazing in the evenings. Grab some beers, because in Budapest, like in many places in Europe, you can drink outside. So grab some beers and go there in the evening. It's an amazing view. It's full with people who are hanging out with friends, having drinks, just enjoying their time, having great evenings. Definitely check out Citadel at day, but most importantly at night. And well, there are some simple things left to do in Budapest. Have a drink at the promenade. just go down by the promenade, and between, I think it was Chain Bridge and Parliament, there's a beautiful promenade. You can just take a walk there, you can grab a beer and just sit there, have a drink. A lot of locals, many locals are hanging out there and going for drinks. And on that promenade, I might be wrong, but I think it was the Chain Bridge. Maybe it was some other bridge. But you'll see on that promenade there are several bars next to the Chain Bridge. One of them is called Ponton, and the other one right on the other side of the bridge. I don't remember what was the name of it, but you can check out those bars. They are very popular with locals and with tourists. They're always full with people in the evenings. So if you just want to go hang out at an outdoor bar slash club, that's one of the places to go. So a few other bars to check out. There is a place you'll definitely find if you Google about bars to check out in Budapest. It's called Simpla. Uh, and we'll just Google bars in Budapest and you'll find Simpla. It's a very popular bar for foreigners. Foreigners think it's a locals bar, but actually most people going there are either foreigners, tourists, or foreigners living there, expatriates, because Budapest has a very big expatriate community. I used to hang out there with many people who are digital nomads as well. So check out Simpla, and if you like amazing sunsets, then 360 Bar is the place to go. 360 Bar is a rooftop bar on Andrassy Street. It's around 10-minute walk from the city center. You might, if the tourism season is on and if the COVID has ended, you might wanna book a table in advance via their Facebook page. But 360 Bar has incredible views. I used to go there on dates to check out the sunset. I would get a table with a sunset view and just get some wine. And the good thing about going out in Budapest is pretty cheap. If you go out to a place like Sunset Bar, no, not Sunset Bar, sorry, 360 Bar. You go to a place like that, and for locals, that place is fancy and it's kind of expensive for them. But a glass of wine in a place like that is a few euros. So it's still, compared to most places in Europe, it's still very cheap. Be careful when taking girls to places like that, because again, if it's not expensive for you, it still might be expensive for them. So it might be a place that's a little bit too fancy for dates, but you can try it out. It's definitely a beautiful view, great sunset. So definitely check out 360 Bar. Okay, enough sightseeing, enough having fun in the city. Let's get back to talking about day game and what you should expect from your day game in Budapest. Day gaming in Budapest is inspiring because you see so many beautiful, hot girls that know how to look good. It's inspiring, but in a way it's kind of tough because you might seem that you're getting somewhere, but then you realize that most numbers fake and you're not really getting anywhere. So what are some things you should know about day gaming in Budapest? First of all, open strong. Shit opens do not work. Anything like opening from the side, tapping on a shoulder, or anything like that does not work. It will give you, at least it gave me and my students, worse results. So you have to open strong, run around the girl, be 100% in front of her, smile, good eye contact, strong posture, hand out, say hey, sorry, da 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 da. Yeah, so do strong opens. Once you do strong opens, they'll start to stop, they'll start to react well, because as with any cities that are known for cheap flights from UK with drunk stag dudes going there and trying to bang local chicks, as with any city, well, the chicks kind of get used to some shitty opens from drunk dudes. So don't be one of those idiots. Do solid day game, do good opens, don't fall in the sex tourist image trap. So open strong, and If you open strong, they'll react good. If you have good day game, like if you can run good stacks that spark emotion, then they'll forget they're running somewhere. They will actually stop and talk to you. They might not invest as much as you are used to in if you've day gamed in different cities around Europe or around the world, but you can still run decent stats. But in Budapest, your game has to be solid. You can't just have a chit chat and expect to get numbers. Your game will have to be good. And what you'll see in the beginning, if you're just if your game isn't that good yet, they'll in the beginning not stop that easily all day, or they will leave sets pretty soon, and then they will be really hard to close. And when you start closing them, it will be way easier. They'll want you to take their Instagram or their Facebook, and then once you start running really good sets, you'll start to get numbers. I think with those numbers is many numbers will flake. It is a fairly flaky city, and why is that? Because I got the impression, and I know it's not typical and it's not what people think about Budapest, but I got the impression that Budapest is very much like Balkan countries. I found it strangely similar to other places I've been in Balkans, in a way that the country, although it seems very sexual and people are fairly like not wearing too much clothing, it seems that it's relationship oriented and girls are looking for relationships. That's the impression I got. That's what I've heard from many other people, from other experienced day gamers that have been there. So make sure you don't have too much of player vibes, but you would have to have really good game to be able to calibrate in a way where you're gonna adjusting your player vibe to kind of be this fast sex guy, or give the impression that you're staying for a few weeks. Obviously don't lie to them, but just understand that they might be looking for a boyfriend. Don't give the wrong impression. Don't lie to them. Don't say that you'll be their boyfriend and staying there. But it's the reason I think it was a flaky city, and it's a bit harder to game because girls are relationship oriented. That's something to take into consideration, and I think that is a little bit why it's a bit harder to get them out on a date. So even if you run really good sets, you'll get those numbers, but then again you'll have to convert those numbers to dates. And I had several dates there. Some of them ended in lays, some of them ended in just dates, and some of them I just didn't have enough time to close because I got the first date too late, and then I was already leaving the country, and I felt it was a girl that needed like 2, maybe 3 dates. That was very on. But even though you get the impression that girls are kind of relationship oriented, there are two things two things you can still do. First, you can run good game and sleep with the girls that are still like looking for a relationship, but just have sex with them, and they understand that they're not going to relationship with her. You're going to be the guy they have fun with. And the second thing is you'll still find girls that are up for adventures. So the first girl I slept with was a local Hungarian, and even though the set wasn't that good, the texting was okay and the date was okay, and I pretty soon realized she's open to a lot of crazy stuff. She just hasn't experienced too much of the crazy stuff, and again, I got to have some nice fun with her. And the second girl I slept with there, it was the same day LA. She was a girl who's American but as Hungarian heritage, and it's kind of had spent a month in Hungary, and she was out for a walk, and I was just fortunate enough to open her at the right time, at the right moment, and end it as a same day lay. So you'll still find enough girls that are up for adventures if your day game is good enough. Because I did 80 opens there, and I got 2 lays. That's 1 lay out of 40 opens, which is pretty good regardless of which city you're day gaming in. if you go to Budapest and you're an experienced day gamer, and just I would be interested in knowing how you did there, and I guess there would be many other guys who would want to know how you did there. So if you've been there and have done some serious day game there, then share your experience in our group chat. Just let guys know what you thought about it. So let's get to the important question. Do I suggest going there for day game? Well, if you are not that experienced and you're not getting laid regularly from day game yet, then no, I do not suggest going to Budapest for day game. You'll just do shitload of sets that most probably will not end in lays. If you want to do a day game trip and you're not that experienced and you want to do it without coaching, then there are better cities to go on day game trips like that. If you are a good, if you like nice looking young petite girls with tits and asses, then yes, it's definitely a city to go to. You have to like the tiny petite girls, because if you don't, then well, Budapest probably isn't the place to go. But if you do, then yes, it's definitely a place to explore. And if you have more than a week to spend there, if you just want to do a week-long trip, then again, a solo trip, if you're not that experienced, to Budapest might not be the best idea in the world. But if you are experienced and you have enough time to actually go on dates and do enough sets, then I think it's an amazing city. It's definitely a different experience than places like Riga or cities in Poland or cities in Czech Republics and many other places. It's a different experience. I went there because I wanted to figure out whether it's a good city for coaching, because I like certain cities for coaching more than others. Let's say if you are from a city where day game is really, really hard, then when guys come for coaching from cities like that, they kind of want to figure out, well, is it better to learn in a city where it's really hard to day game, or is it better to go to a city where it's easier to day game? If you're from a city like New York City, well, it's pretty hard to day game in New York City because everyone is in a rush and no one gives a fuck. Well, is New York City the best place to learn day game? Well, I actually think it's better to learn in a city where it's easier, because if you're learning in a really, really, really tough city, you might work on your open and you might work on how to get a girl to forget where she's going and get her to stay in a set and have a conversation with you. That's the beginning of a set. In a tough city, you might learn that. Whereas in easier city, you will get experience in opening the girl, stacking, making sure you get a topic to talk about, making sure she hooks and doesn't really want to go away, making sure she's actually investing, and she starts to kind of pick up you. She starts to explain how she's an interesting girl, and then you get to work on closing and you get to get some dates and work on that. So I wanted to figure out, is Budapest a good city for coaching? And to be honest, I loved it for coaching because it's easy enough, but it's not too easy. It's not like if you do shitty opens, then they'll not stop, they'll eject, and it will just not work. So you have to do the things in the set good enough, but it's not too easy. So I think Budapest is a great city for learning day game with a coach. I also think it's much harder to learn day game there on your own. So if you are not that experienced, don't go there. There are easier cities to go to. But if you're experienced or if you want to get coaching, then Budapest is a great city to go to. If there are any other questions you want to ask about Daygame in Budapest, then join our Daygame Church Telegram group chat and ask your questions there. I've been there, several other guys have been there, so you'll have some opinions and answers to your questions. And again, you can join the group chat by joining my mailing list and going to strobert.blog, strobert.blog, and filling out the form on the website, and you'll get an invitation link to join the group chat. Well, if you liked this podcast, if this guide to day game in Budapest, then please click thumbs up if you're watching this, if you're listening to this on YouTube, or if you're listening to this on Spotify, iTunes, or any other podcast platform. Please leave this podcast a 5-star review, because that helps me to reach more people, and it helps me help more guys to stop dating average women and learn to meet girls they really like anywhere, whether that's street or shopping malls or cafes or gyms or, I don't know, tennis courts or whatever. And if you are interested in getting coaching in Budapest or many other good cities in Europe or USA or anywhere else, then get in contact with me by sending me an email to robert@saintrobert.blog. That's it for today, guys. Thank you for listening, and bye.